Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come here and share my story. I'm going to tell it like a little bit of a story. It starts as it's 6:20 in the morning and my alarm goes off. I hit snooze twice. It's part of my morning routine. First, I make coffee, check. Then I make Anna's lunch, check. A quick shower, and then to get Anna up and ready for school. She's 20 years old, and next year is her last year of high school. We sing songs in the morning while I pack her bag and get her dressed. She screams, and I acknowledge her. And I tell her I know that she wants to stay in her pajamas. She claps her hands. I continue to dress her, she continues to scream, and it goes on until she's dressed, and I put her on the floor and give her a little nudge to head downstairs. I love that she's independent enough to go down the stairs all alone, scooting on her bottom. I get a load of laundry started or a quick text, usually about logistics of the day. We're in the kitchen. I get her into her wheelchair, and then she tells me, with no words at all, that she doesn't like what I picked for her on TV. I always pick one of 3 shows in the morning, and on most days she screams at me. I acknowledge that she wants something different. She claps. I tell her that there will only be one change, because we don't have time for that. I change it. She settles in contently for breakfast. I make breakfast, check. Feed her breakfast, check. Get her medicine, check. I brush her teeth, check. Wash her face, check. Comb out the knots in her hair, check. Braid her hair, check. We listen to the message on the switch from school, check. I record a new message for school, check. I read and write in her communication book, check. I unplug her charging iPod and make sure it's attached to her wheelchair, check. I dress her in her outdoor clothing, grab her bag, grab her lunch, and get out to the bus for 8:20, exactly 2 hours after my alarm's gone off. So I was asked to come here today and talk about what it's like to be a mom, a caregiver for an individual with a disability. So I thought about how I could describe it, and what I would choose to describe it as a house of cards. And I see parents being a protector of this structure. That is usually until they can't, and that's when things can topple over. I can tell you that having a child with a disability penalizes you with respect to income and career opportunity. What job is going to be flexible enough to accept that you're late for work because the bus just didn't show up today? Or you have to leave because your daughter's sick? What job can you arrive at 9:30 in the morning and leave at 2:30 because the program your daughter's involved in has a drop-off not before 9 and a pickup by 3? I'm lucky to have established a career that's flexible, but what if I couldn't? I can tell you that having a child with a disability, you have to have great stamina. There's lots of lifting, there's lots of resisting self-harm, there's pushing a chair through snow and uneven surfaces, there's sleepless nights because she's up or because you're up worrying. It's physically and mentally demanding, and I'm lucky to have both my physical and mental health, but what if I didn't? I could tell you it's tough on relationships. You have to do a lot of work to make sure your other children aren't left out or aren't let down. And then there's your partner, and finally yourself. It takes a tremendous amount of organizing and planning, and sometimes you just miss the mark. Last week I was supposed to go out with friends, but I messed up and I couldn't get a sitter for the night we had planned. So they all gladly took a rain check, and they're all sitting in the audience right here today. And I'm lucky to have a supportive family and supportive friends, but what if I didn't? Honestly, what it's like to be a mom, a caregiver for an individual with disability, first I think people assume they know all about it, that our politicians and policymakers have heard all the stories, but I don't really believe they understand, and I'm going to explain why. I picked up the phone while I was driving. I didn't literally pick it up, I put it on that auto connect thing. But I was driving my 2 youngest home from school. May I speak to Anna? The woman on the other end of the phone asks, and I say, Anna's nonverbal, but I'm her mom Jane, and how can I help you? Well, the woman continued without missing a beat. We have an eye appointment booked for Anna on May 21st, and she's going to have someone at the appointment with her, as she will not be able to drive after her eyes are dilated. And I felt like saying, well, she couldn't drive before her eyes were dilated. I resisted. And I said, well, I'm wondering appointment, what will she be required to do? She can't follow instructions and she can't communicate what she's seeing visually. You see, she's being transitioned from child care at the IWK to adult care in the adult system. So there was a pause, and the woman on the end of the phone said, well, she will be required to do that for part of the test. And I said, well, she can't. So next the woman said, I'll have to get back to you. When I got off the phone, my girls accused me of being a little harsh with my tone. After all, this woman doesn't know Anna, and despite having all the information available in a medical chart, she just doesn't understand. Later that month, I'm driving an acquaintance home from work. She knows our family. She's met Anna a few times. Jane, she says, I just have to ask you, why are there children's books in the back of your car? Well, the real answer is to keep Anna occupied, to keep Anna from screaming, to keep Anna from becoming so frustrated that she bites herself or even worse, leans forward and pulls my hair. But instead I say, oh, they're Anna's favorite books. She likes to read in the car. I just felt maybe she just wouldn't understand. Lastly, I want to tell you about something that happens to me quite on a regular basis. And it always involves someone that knows me and my family really well. You know, I'm talking about the close friends and extended family, the ones you don't clean up for before they come to your house. You should get a dog for Anna. I love that. It always confuses me, because anyone that's close enough to me should know that I do not have another ounce to give to anyone, let alone a pet. Anyway, it's never the time and place to explain it, and even the people close to me sometimes don't understand. So that's why this kind of an event is important. It allows moms to come here, share their stories, and they try to make it real and help people understand. Moms are good at being superheroes, and sometimes we all hide behind that big old cape. As a mom, we don't want pity. We want action. You know that being a caregiver is only a small part of this story. The big part of the story is that individuals with intellectual and physical disabilities deserve to be understood. They deserve a place that gives them fulfillment and purpose. They deserve services and they deserve a home. Many of them will not go through the transition of flying on their own. Unlike my 18-year-old daughter, my middle daughter, who thinks I'm a little stupid these days and too much of a nag and can't wait to move out of our house. Our children with disabilities won't be like that, and they're going to need their parents to give them a little nudge out of their nest. And this is an incredibly hard thing for us to do as parents. And the sad thing is that our system banks on us not wanting to let our kids go. It banks on us wanting to keep our kids protected, as Anne Louise stated. It banks on us wanting to keep our kids at home. But this isn't what's best. We need to be able to transition them into adult care while we can still play an active role. Otherwise, our children are going to be transitioned during a time of crisis when parents that could provide no longer can. So thank you for allowing me the time to share a bit about my story. I want to close with a short video that my middle daughter, Madeline, made about her sister, Anna. She made it to tell her story about having a sister called Anna. She made it to advocate for change, to help people understand that Anna's important as a person, that even though she has intellectual and physical disability, she's still important. She made it in the hope that everyone that sees it will ask themselves, what can I do to help?
Dear Big Sister, welcome to your life. I can only imagine that you must think it's unfair to be born like this. Born with a beautiful smile and unable to speak. Born with 2 gorgeous legs and unable to run. How could the world be so cruel, right? Wrong. You see, darling, you were born with a gift. A beautiful gift that separates you from the rest of the world. You not different. I know you hate it when people can't hear your words. It must be frustrating to have thoughts, ideas, stories to tell with not one single ear that can understand. But honey, I want you to know that I am always listening. I know it's hard to be constricted, but I want you to love your chair. Embrace it. Your chair can take you places that your legs can't, and I know it sucks to be so limited because it can only take you so far. But I will help you. I will help you climb those stairs, push you up that hill, carry you through that path. I will guide you in the right direction. I want you to keep dreaming. That's one thing we have in common, you know. We were both born dreamers. Let your mind take you places that your chair won't take you. Let your mind say things you've always wanted to say. Let your mind be free. Just dream. I don't know if anyone's ever told you this, but I want you to know that you are intelligent. I don't care what you're learning. No matter how insignificant it may seem, you are learning, and I am so proud of you. I know it must pain you when people make rude comments or stare for a little too long. I know it hurts, because when I see it, I feel my own heart sink, and I hate to think of how your little heart reacts, knowing that your voice can't speak out and your legs can't stand up against it. It must hurt. Although from your perspective you are always looking up at me, you need to know that there is not one day that goes by where I'm not always looking up to you. You have so much to give to this world, so don't ever stop smiling. Some days will be harder than others, but the world needs your sweet smile. I need your sweet smile. With love, from your little sister.